Alright, this is lesson 129, Algebra 2, and this is called, what is this lesson called? Stem and leaf plots, measures of central tendency, the normal curve, and standard deviation. The only thing we're really going to look at in this lesson is measures of central tendency and standard deviation. Alright, so measures of central tendency. That has to do with averages and that kind of thing. So actually, if you remember from 7th or 8th grade math, there's 3 parts to central tendency. One is the mean, one is the median, and one is the mode. Okay, so the mean is basically the average. The median is the middle number. And the mode is the number that occurs the most. And that's why I use mode, most. That's how I remember it. Alright, so let's see here. First of all, they're going to give you a whole bunch of numbers. So let's just write the numbers down that they give us. And the first thing we need to do that is very helpful is put the numbers in correct or in order. Let's put them in progressive order. So we've got 3, 4, and I cross them out so I know that I got them. 8, 9, 9, 10, 12. Okay, so now I have them all in the correct order. Now if I'm looking for the mean means that I add up all my numbers and divide by the total number of numbers I have. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers. So even though my 9's repeat itself, there's still one of the numbers there. So then I add those up, I'm going to get 62 over 8, which is equal to 7.75. So that's my average. Okay, and let's see, what is that going to erase here? Okay, so let's move this up. We'll keep our numbers here in the order. And then the next one we're going to look at is the median. So what is the middle number here? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers. So I don't have a middle number, but I have a middle 2 numbers. So I add those up and divide by 2, and that gives me 8.5. Okay, so that gives me my median, my middle number. And the next part is the mode, and that is which number occurs the most often. So if you look here, 9 occurs twice, so my mode is 9. Now if I have 9 that occurs twice, and let's say my 8's occur twice, there isn't a number that occurs the most, so there is no mode. But when you have one number that occurs a whole bunch of times, that's called the mode. The final thing we're going to look at here in central tendency is the range. The range means we take our biggest number, which in this case is 12, and we subtract our smallest number. And we've got them in the right order, so that's real easy to do. So our range then is 9. Okay, so the final part we're going to talk about is standard deviation. Okay, so the last part of this that we're going to talk about is called standard deviation. Alright, so standard deviation is a number that lets somebody know how close different scores are to the average. So, I mean, that sounds really confusing, but let's say I did give a test, and my average score was a 90%. And let's say my other scores, let's say if I just took all my other scores, and these won't average to 90%, but let's say that I put them all on here. Okay, so there's all my scores. What I'm interested in is how close those scores are to my 90%. So I've got an 87, an 85, a 76, a 78, a 96, a 97, a 98, and a 99. Okay, so these are all a certain distance from my average score. In this distance here is my standard deviation. So the closer these scores are to 90, the better. So if my scores were here and here, then this distance would be a lot shorter than if they are like my white one here. That's a lot bigger spread. So what I'm interested in is getting that number really, really small. I want my students to all score really well. I don't want some that are getting 76s and some that are getting 99s. I want that average to be, or that space distance between those two scores to be a lot smaller. So what they have is called standard deviation. How much do we deviate or do we differ from that average score? And that's what this section is all about. And the only reason I'm teaching it is because if you take statistics in college, which you will, you're going to be doing standard deviation. So let's just go ahead and do that. And I'm going to do practice C on the bottom of page 535. And they give us some scores. They give us a 5, a 7, a 9, a 14, an 8, and a 5. Alright, so in order to find standard deviation, what we do is we find the average of these scores. So we take 5 plus 7 plus 9 plus 14 plus 8 plus 5 and take the average, divide that by 6. And that gives us an average score of, I think it's 8. 5 and 7 is 12, 21, 31, 35, 43, 48 divided by 6 is 8. So it gives me an average of 8. Alright, so now, once I have the average of 8, I need to find out how far each of these numbers are from that 8. So 5 is 3 away from 8. 7 is 1 away from 8. 9 is also 1 away from 8. 14 is 6 away from 8. 8 is 0 away from 8. And 5 is 3 away from 8. Alright, so that's how far they are from the average. The next thing we do is we square each one of these. So we just put a squared sign up there and we put a plus sign. So we add the squares. So we have 9 plus 1 plus 1 plus 36 plus 0 plus 9. Okay, so we add all those up and then we divide by 6, which is the number of answers we have here. 3, 4, 5, 6. Whoops, why did I put a 9 there? I have no idea. That should be a 6. Okay, so 9 plus 1 is 10, 11, 47, 56. Okay, and then we divide that by 6. Once we do that, we take the square root. Okay, a lot of stuff going on there. Okay, and that will give us our standard deviation. I think it's 3.06 when you take 56 divided by 6 and then take the square root of that. Okay, so that's it as far as standard deviation. So let me just real quickly go over this. You've got your list of numbers. You find the average. Add them all up, divide by the total number. There are 6 numbers there, so divide by 6 gives you 8. Now you look at these numbers and find out how far each one of these is away from 8. So this one, so we have 3, 1, 1, 6, 0, 3. Then we square each one of these numbers and add them together, and that's where we got our 56. And then we divide by how many numbers there are. So again, to find the average, we divided by 6. Over here, we divided by 6 as well. Divide by 6. Take the square root of that answer. That gives you your standard deviation. Okay? And that's it for that.